God, that you definitely live in mainland Europe. Look at that coffee mug. It's the most stylistic coffee mug I've ever seen. Hi there, welcome to the Ukes podcast. This is me, Alex, and this is my podcast where we talk about ukulele and ukulele culture and everything related to it. A lot of my guests on this series are Insta famous, which means they're not really famous, but I think they're cool, and that's kind of half the battle. So my guest today is 4STRINGBOY, aka Sammy. How are you, Sammy?
Hello, mate. I'm very, very, very good and very happy to be here, mate.
I wanted you on the podcast since the first series, but things just kept falling through. I was supposed to be coming out and visiting you in whichever mainland European country it is you live in. I always forget.
One of the cold ones.
It's one of the cold ones. It's one of the ones. It's one of the ones where you know there's definitely a lot of IKEAs.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not Sweden. It's the other one.
The other one.
That's it.
Yeah. You try for legal reasons. You don't want to tell people at home which country you're in.
No, it's Copenhagen, Denmark.
Yeah, that's it. I did book a flight there. I should know, but
you did, and it would have been lovely, but you know, life happens.
So you are one of the most well-known ukulele teachers on the planet right now. Would you agree?
No.
Okay, so for a portion of the audience of the wider ukulele players out there in the world, 4STRINGBOY, since around the start of the pandemic, whether that's linked or not, I don't know, but you have been one of Instagram / possibly TikTok / Facebook Reels for the older generation out there that use platforms like social media to learn the ukulele. You have been one of those faces that keeps popping up, sometimes a bit sweary, but always very talented and educational. How did you become 4STRINGBOY? At what point did 4-string egg fertilize and become 4STRINGBOY?
That's nice. 4-string egg. That's what strangers call me. But yeah, that's what they call me. I did. So I wanted to do Instagram for like a long time, but to be honest, it was not the fear of failure, but I had a real problem with, what's the point? Because there are so many people out there doing it better, or there are so many people already doing out there. It's basically, I was like, I have nothing to offer that isn't already out there. So I basically ignored it and stayed in the background for a very long time, which I'm massively content with because I think it's taken me a good while. And when I joined Instagram, I did it like under a teaching name. And like I said, it was stuff and I wasn't comfortable with recording, basically. That was the main thing. I wasn't myself, and that felt really weird. So recording kind of was a big deal and would get me stressed. So I just wouldn't do it. That's it. And then I've no idea why, for some light bulb moment, I was like, hang on, Sammy, why don't you just show the world that you're a complete dickhead like you are in real life and just go with it? And so I did. And it felt way more natural then to sort of talk and interact with people as in how I would in real life and do that. And that's sort of basically how it came on. And I think it was maybe a year into Instagram that I decided, I was like, things started to get a bit better and bit better and bit better. Follower wise, and I was like, okay, I need a name. And it was me and my wife always talk on a local dog walk. It's basically always our brainstorming session because we're both like self-employed idiots, so we always bounce ideas off each other, and it's always the dog walk basically where everything gets decided. So 4STRINGBOY was the one, and I was like, that name has got to be taken. It's got to be taken. There's got to be somebody who taken, and no. So instantly ran home, got that name down on Instagram, was like bang, and then my wife is massively, she does branding and things for artists and stuff like that. So she's like, right, you need to do it. We need to get it down. We need to like have an idea of an image of, you know, what you want to be, etc. And so that was about it, really.
Wow. And were you already teaching when you got to that point? Were you already teaching as a profession or?
Yeah. So I went to university and got a music degree, but I also got a teaching degree. So before I did just private teaching, I was the college lecturer. and I did a bit of private teaching on the side. And then basically, long story is, it was 0-hour contracts. So every September, I never knew whether I had a job or not.
Oh, right.
And so it got to a couple of years in where I got fed up of that, because sometimes I'd be invited in and they'd be like, oh, can you cover this? We can't tell you whether you have a job. And the students I'd be handing the things to, it would have my name on it as their lecturer. And they'd be like, oh, so you're our form teacher. And I was like, I don't fucking know. And so like that just
having met you, that is how you would have said it to them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. And they will tell you as well. They will tell you that is exactly how I've never hidden any side of that away from it. So that's exactly how I would have told it to them as well. So no, I did that and then did a bit of private teaching on the side, and I've always done a bit of private teaching on the side. And then it got to a point where basically it was either we just moved to a place in the south called Worthing, which is like West Sussex.
Yeah.
So we'd both been in Brighton. We moved there, and then basically it was either go get another job somewhere. I had a job offer in Bristol, or it was stay here, and it was roll the dice. And my wife was like, "Well, hang on, you like private teaching. You're good at private teaching. What if we turned it into a business?"
Yeah.
You'll find she is the idea or the spark behind everything. I'm just the one that goes, oh yeah, and she's the one that sort of kicks off and does everything. So we did that, and it worked a fucking treat.
Yeah. Well, I did that kind of classic deep dive. I thought, right, well, let's just try and figure out where the persona came from, because your persona is not a persona. Having met you off camera and when you're not teaching a group, you talk and exist in very bite-sized 60-second chunks. Like, you're born for what you do.
Yeah.
Unless you've done it so much that actually it's broken you, and that is just how you are. I actually, when I look at you, I don't see you in widescreen. I see you in.
I'm Portrait Boy. That's what my new name should be, Portrait Boy.
I bet your wife's already thought of that. Yeah, she's clever like that.
Mate, she would have she's got a book with them all listed down. So if you even try it, there'll be copy strikes straight away. So it's not worth it.
But you've got this, I don't know, you think in chunks, and then you do this fantastic exposition. And having watched you teach a group earlier this year at Southern Ukulele Store, you came over, you did a fantastic tour.
I was very lucky to be invited. Yeah,
and we'll talk about that in a second. We don't want to kind of miss that out, but when you came over and did the in-store performance and workshop of the show, you explained to me that really gigging wasn't your thing. You were one of the rare people that had come over from teaching, and the gigging was very much the secondary thing. But your teaching persona, you sat down and you approached it in a completely different way to everyone else that I've had in the store. And I've probably watched now, with the exception of Jake Shimabukuro and Taimani, I've pretty much seen everyone that has ever come over. I watched them, and your method was you sat down and you looked at everyone and you went, right, people are going to tell you it's this way, and they're fucking wrong. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting, because the older audiences, they sometimes don't respond well to that kind of confidence and the swearing. Sometimes they just,
totally.
There's a portion of people out there that kind of want things done a certain way, and they don't respond well to change. But I love how many people came into it, and you bent them into the shape they wanted to be. And by the end, I mean, people have been coming back to me and coming back to the store, having visited, especially to meet you. And they've really come on as players. And that doesn't always happen. Really nice. As a player who teaches, I find, my playing is my strong point. My teaching is not my strong point, but I try. With you, I definitely felt like you had the teaching down pat, and you felt at your most comfortable in that element.
You're totally right.
Was that the case with the whole tour? Or did you?
It was very much that. I've always, throughout all of my instrumental life, I've always said I'm a teacher who happens to be a musician. That is what I've always said. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always known. So my career path is very easy for me. I was just like, I need to get into teaching. I want to do this. So it was a linear, easy path for me. And I mean, luckily, yes, it's been, like I said, very, very good. It's been very good to me. You know what I mean? I've always had nice feedback, and it always is. I really absolutely fucking adore my job. I love what I do, it whether it's online or in person. It's totally cool. But yeah. So it's always been that. And actually, coming up to the tour, I was fucking bricking it. For anyone who doesn't speak British English, that is scared, because I've never played a live ukulele gig ever. So that was going to be my first live ukulele gig, but not just one. It was going to be night after night after night after night. And I was technically the headline. So how does me, who's never played, I mean, I've played gigs all my life on different instruments, but I've just never played a solo gig. That's it. I'm not that person. You know what I mean? I can't sing. I've been asked. Well, that's, yeah, I've you know what I mean? Yeah. So I've never done it on my own before. And I was like, I had that internal worry of like, oh, fuck, what if I can't? You know what I mean? What if I can't do this? What if I get to it and I just absolutely fall apart? And it was, like I said, it was scary, but also as soon as I sat down and did the first one, I was like, cool, I'm in. You know what I mean? It was, it felt fine, basically. And that was it. And I was very lucky. And I think years and years and years and years of doing Instagram and doing live streams and stuff like that, even though it is very different, the stress level can be quite the same.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that. It's almost as soon as you hit record, you're like, cool, I'm on. But I just find live in everything is just way more forgiving. Yeah. So actually, the first show that I did in Twickenham, oh boy, I really butchered a lot of it. And people didn't care or notice. And that's it, you know what I mean? And that is always the reality of live performance, is you can make a complete ass of yourself and people will still pat you on the back at the end of the go and go, that was the best I've ever seen you play before. You're like,
yeah. I always feel like when I'm trying to explain to people what it's like when you play in a band, it's like being in a car on a road trip. And you know, even if you're tired, you know, there's other people there to keep you enthused. Yeah. And if there's loads of traffic, you've got somebody there to kind of distract you, and the trip generally goes smoothly. Whereas playing a solo gig is like driving for 8 hours by yourself, and you can start off fine, or you can start off nervous, or you can start off tired, but whatever happens, you're completely relying on yourself. And I was in a band for years, moved over to playing solo, and I did get to the point you had. And, you know, I butchered a lot of things, and at that point, I realized that actually no one really knew except me. As long as you style it out with your personality.
Oh, 1,000%.
And your personality is constantly there, being injected into everything you do. So, you know, in between songs, you are kind of cushioning expectations. Yes. But you're not. You're kind of putting yourself down, you know. But the music really lifts it up. And you've just, you know, you're in the middle of recording an album right now, aren't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. I've been recording all day, actually.
Yeah. And what's your uke of choice for this record? Like, for this project, is there one uke that you're using more than others?
No. It's actually it's an even split between three.
Okay.
And so, I mean, so the first one is there are 5 baritone songs on there. So I am actually using the Aurora for that.
The Fly Aurora. Okay.
Yeah. I have the lovely Pono also behind me, but for comfortability wise, I'm a wide nut boy. So the Pono is just a little bit slim, and as lovely as it sounds and stuff, I just do not play my best on it. So actually, I find on the Aurora, I play way better. And actually, for something where you got to record and you need to be at your best, that hasn't let me down. So
fair enough.
That's that. But between the others, it's the Fireball and the A10 Flame Maple, the same kit that you've got.
Yeah. Okay. The really colourful blue maple A10.
That's the one. Yep, exactly. Bright as fuck.
Bright as fuck. Is that your written review of it? Is that what you?
That is exactly it. That is exactly it. It is bright as fuck. So it's basically in all the songs that I need it to cut through with the harmonics. Then that is usually the uke of choice, and all the darker numbers the fireball comes in.
Well, with maple, I often talk about maple being flat, and people think that that can be a kind of down, if it's flat, but it's not. No, flat is good. It's a flat response instrument. So when you're doing harmonics, the harmonics come through without being overly kind of boomy or overly,
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, when the brightness and something cutting through in the mix, having something flat is much easier to work with. So I'm a big fan of maple as well. I wasn't surprised to see you adopt that ukulele on Instagram, actually.
I mean, if we're being honest, right, my ukulele choices are massively your fault.
Yeah,
from day one, it's always been your fault. So it's before I was a Flight fangirl. I played. Well, actually, the very first ukulele I bought was a Carla concert. I can't remember what it is. KA8080 K9.
Has it got cedar top?
Special. Actually, you know what? I haven't got a fucking clue, because at that stage when I was looking at ukuleles, I had no idea about woods. I was like, cool, that one's brown, that one's less brown, this one's slightly more brown.
Yeah, that was how ukuleles were for a long time before I came along, and apparently I always laugh about it, but I think it's interesting how the guitar world, it's always been such a hot topic. In the ukulele world, 5-6 years ago when I started doing the sus videos, it really wasn't discussed. Nut width, bloody nut width. Nobody cared about nut widths. I mean, Kamaka made a ukulele with its nut width for over 100 years before anybody started saying, why is your nut width that nut width? Kanalea have a 38mm nut width, and it's the luckiest thing they ever did, because they probably only have a 38mm nut width because Joe Sousa grew up playing 8 strings, which would have had quite nuts, and he liked that.
Of course.
And now it's the norm, and that's evolution. And I'm genuinely quite terrified that I've played a role in that.
Mate, you have massively. I mean, again, so I played guitar for years before I played ukulele, but I was never an acoustic player, so I was an electric player. So actually, I cared less about woods and more about pickups and things like that. So woods and stuff I didn't give a shit about. And I was never, like I said, never into the acoustic guitar, so didn't understand the top versus sides thing. Never really interested into it. And then, like I said, it was roughly about the time when I discovered Flight from you. And that was actually around the same time that I discovered you. I saw a fireball somewhere, and then I tried to do some research on it. And it was basically you at the time were like screaming about this thing and showing it off. And like, really?
Yeah, the one I had was the first one.
Wow.
It came to us, and then it went off to Gotta Ukulele for a review.
Okay.
And then I think that one went back to Slovenia, and the bears ate it.
Yeah, that's it. It's into the forest to just be absorbed back into the world. So that's it.
It's a mango tree now, which is actually what happens. I like to think.
Yeah, you once you're done with it, you just put it in the forest, and there's a tree again.
Just plant it. Yeah, it grows.
Yeah,
it's actually how we make baritone ukuleles. Yeah.
You just grow them. Just plant a tenor, get the right fertilizer, and then they grow into a baritone.
Absolutely, it's just how you garden it. That's how you do it.
Wow.
Yeah, don't tell people though, because I don't really want to have to explain that.
Don't worry. Secret's safe with me.
I did have a point, but I did say to you I wasn't going to prepare for this podcast because I knew that we would go. It's almost like a Mighty Boosh level of tangent, because you just encourage me, and I'm quite keen to see where you go, so I don't stop you.
Unfortunately, my attention span is terrible, and yes, if you give me some stupidity, then I'm all for it, baby.
So the Pono you've got, there's a good story behind that. I'd love to tell the people, but it's much better coming from you. All I'll say is that it involves Calais and Corey kind of making vinegar stroke faces at ukulele playing.
It was. So obviously the good guys I don't know whether to call it the ukulele site or Hawaii Ukulele Supply, but
Hawaii Music Supply or ukulele site. Perhaps your wife should be doing their branding because I don't know either.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we don't know. We don't know. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. It's Calais and Corey and
Andrew.
Andrew. I was going to say Alex there. I was going to say it's not Alex. It's Andrew.
Oh, I'd love to go there. Did you know? Before you say it, I did an interview with them.
And what really?
Yeah, and they never showed it.
Oh no!
And he fell asleep. I think Andrew said it was something to do with the audio, but maybe the audio.
Oh, okay. Well, the audio was Corey going.
Yeah, but you've had a great experience with them, and they are great guys. I must stress, like I've spoken to them all individually, and they're fantastic.
Okay. I mean, yes. I mean, because I love their YouTube channel. Everything is so filthily polished. With Andrew does such a ridiculous job at camera work and mics and everything. But always liked it. And then I noticed occasionally that they do these giveaways where they do like a little competition and stuff like that. And I was like, cool, shit, that sounds all right. And then they did one, I can't remember what it was. I entered one before the Pono one, basically. It was for this very special tenor. I just made some harmonics ukulele jam thing. I was amazed that I got in the top 10. I was like, what the fuck? Because it was literally spur of the moment. I saw it, clicked my camera, just did something, clicked it back, and then just because I was like, quick, do it quickly. And yeah, so I got into the top 10 of that, which I was like, what the fuck is happening? And to be honest, for me, that one was actually better that I got into the top 10 than win the ukulele. Because if you get into the top 10, you win $100 gift card.
Right.
And I'd always wanted to try uke logic strings, always, but shipping because of or Hawaii is basically I'm going to get fucked either way. So I was like, okay, so that's it. But obviously I had this $100 gift card and I was like, cool. So basically I rinsed it, and I think maybe it was 2 packs of strings and shipping. I think that was essentially what the rest of it was. But no, I got a couple. I got like the hard tension and the soft tension just to try them out. And I really fell in love with them and absolutely adored them. Was like, cool. Because I know loads of players spoke about them and talked them up and stuff like that, but I really wanted to try them myself. So I was really grateful that I actually got the opportunity to try that, because here in Denmark, I haven't got any ukulele stores, or there's nothing close by, or it's very upsetting. So it's always relying on the online side. But then they did another one and I was like, what was this? I was thinking of asking Flight for a baritone because I really wanted a baritone. Because I was like, I've never played with the baritone. It'd be quite cool just to see how things. And then the ukulele popped up, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing another competition. This time you can win this Pono baritone." I was like, "Thank you, universe." I was like, "You're very kind like that." So I was like, "Right, that's it." And I'd just done a cover of Owl City Fireflies, and that's obviously the real one is real synthesizer, boo badu do badu do 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 do. And it was actually the Flight artist manager who texted me and was like, "Do you reckon you could do a cover of this?" And I was like, listen to it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a fucking tune." I was like, okay, sat with it, quickly figured it out to my amazement, and was like, This is awesome. This is fantastic. Super. I love it. Quickly,
don't they? The best.
I love it when the best ones are just there in the hands. It's like, okay, that was excellent. So basically I fired that straight at them. And then Calais also did a couple of days before. He made a little harmonic riff on one of the strings and he was showing it off. And the ukulele site did a big thing. They're like, "Oh, can you do this harmonic riff?" So everybody tagged me. And I got up the next morning to all see all these things tagging in it. And so I did it, but I did it everywhere. So I was like, "Hello, Calais," and did it everywhere. And then on the video, I did the Owl City thing. And then I did the Calais riff at the end.
Yeah.
And yes, because I thought that earned me some extra bonus points. And the video is hilarious. Honest to God, the best musician faces you can get is like you're being tasered.
Yeah.
If the person opposite you looks like they're dying or having a stroke, that is musician for mwah.
Frozen Zoom call, His actual face was
It was. He looked like pure disgust in what was happening.
He hated it. He loved it so much he hated it.
That's exactly it. There's a quick flick in the brain being like, I like it, I like it. Oh, it's too much. No, this perverse and disgusting, must turn it back. So yeah, and that alone that alone, I was basically, because mine was the first one played, and I was like, in my brain, I've won for like myself. Yeah. To see me and those guys saying such nice things about me, I was like, fuck it. I was like, that's all I need. That is absolutely beautiful. And then I was very lucky, and I ended up, winning it. And that baritone came to me, which was very kind.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been even better if it had 38mm nut. Yeah, but it get played more then.
I
guarantee, though, had you not gone through that, you wouldn't be so keen on the baritone now. You know, the 5 songs that you've done.
You are No, you're absolutely right. I wrote them all on the Pono. They were all written on the Pono. I'd already done them on the Pono. That was everything. And then it was like, without that Pono, that was my easy doorstep into baritone, and showed me, and I fell straight away in love with it. And I was like, fuck. Because I think I'm known as a high G player. I'm not a low G player. I'm trying to get on board with low G, but I still don't like it. But baritone, I love. So it's kind of like, I feel like for me, if I want a low string, I want it all low. Right. And then I've got the other end, which is the high G. So for me, the low G, for me as a player, I watch so many players, you included, who play a low G absolutely fucking beautifully and wonderfully, and love it, sounds great. But when I play one, it sounds shit. So it's not, I haven't made amends with it yet.
Hey, isn't it funny though that we could be 14 years into the ukulele's resurgence, and you could be the odd one out because you're the one playing it in standard tuning?
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's great. No, if so many people start, I think you've got it down perfectly, because for example, I would say 70% of the people I meet are starting the ukulele. We're back in a period now where, for my customers, there's people buying things that they love and they're really into it, but there's a lot more people taking it up again. It's the time of year as well, but those people, they're going to try it high G first, and when they want to learn how to do it, I can show them some old school kind of players, people that do things the kind of ragtime way, people like Phil Colvin, and they can play high G. Or I can show them you. And I tend to show them you, Bernadette, and Viggy. So
nice combo.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic dinner party. I nearly said threesome, but I'll just cut that bit out. But you and I
that's good
about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many people out there, like learning low G, and people that are inspired by low G players, but at the beginning, you're just not at that level, and it's so much better to learn the ukulele high G and then evolve into a low G player as you become a fingerstyle player, or not evolve and stay exactly the same and come up with your own evolutionary chain like you do.
That's it. I mean, I will go to say I don't think I do anything different than anybody has ever done. There is no difference to how I play ukulele that's already been done. And I will always quote my biggest influence, or I think the closest person to how I play, is Tobias Elof, who still won't answer my calls despite me moving next door to him. It's very rude.
Yeah, I mean, you did a lot. I mean, perhaps you were a bit too keen moving to the same country as him just to... I mean, he's not really around anymore, is he? I mean, maybe he is, but
no, he's not. I mean, especially not on the online world. I know he is the social media person for the ukulele site, Hawaii. Yeah. So he's them. So occasionally when we talk, it's there. But yes, it's a funny one that we're in the same city and never had the chance to. I think he's probably afraid of me because there's nothing more than a crazy English man moving to the same country and be like, I love you so much. And
yeah. Well, I mean, traditionally, if an Englishman decides to move somewhere, it's because they're going to invade it. But I thought it was funny. Right. Where am I going? Can you tell I'm tired? I've got to stay up another. I've got to stay up another 5.5 hours so I can interview James Hill.
Oh my God! Oh mate, fucking hell! And you're wasting all your lovely energy on me.
I wouldn't say I'm literally leaning. I'm like finishing. It's fantastic to have you on because I feel like we've got a kind of natural rapport. Whereas with James, it's a very different kind of interview. I'm gonna do quite a lot of research this evening because he doesn't do a lot of interviews. And
okay.
I know it's a fantastic opportunity for people that don't know you to learn more about you. This podcast.
Oh man, I mean, it's beautiful for me.
And I know that you're doing one with Viggy. So between those two, I'd like to think that we're going to have, we're going to get a lot of people onto you that aren't already, and people that are familiar with you are going to love you even more, like I do. Meeting you, honestly, once I met you, you reinvigorated me. My enthusiasm for the ukulele was at a bit of a low point, as they do.
Yeah.
And then I met you, and I was like, oh, do you know what? I want to get better at the ukulele, and that is the biggest compliment I can pay you as a teacher, my friend.
Well, that is, I will take that straight to the bank. You're far too kind.
I mean, your live performance was subpar, but you did
excellent
for it. So okay, right. Before we go, you're a flight artist. You're about as noteworthy as a flight artist gets because you are always playing different flight ukuleles. And just 2-3 weeks ago, you received an Irish ukulele. You played it, and immediately after I sold two, the next day, because people had seen it from you play it and they're like, well, that's the best ukulele I've ever heard. So you are the guy that flight seem to send instruments to, not to try and sell them, but just you're somebody genuinely keen to experience everything that flight has to offer.
I really am. Because I genuinely love them as a company. And if you meet me, I'm a very shit salesman. So I'm not. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not a bullshitter. I am very transparent as a person. If you know me, if you met me for 5 minutes, you've met me for a very long time. Essentially, I'm the same thing. But yes, I genuinely believe in like what they do. And I'm just curious as to, because like I feel like I've gotten to the ukulele late in the game. I want to experience all these things. And like I said, with the woods, and I've got no idea with guitars and stuff. So I genuinely just want to experience it all. And so it is more me just wanting to have a play around and be like, oh, what does that sound like? Oh, what does that sound like? Because I don't have a nice, I mean, if not, mate, if I was up the road from you, you'd be locking the door and be like, oh, fuck me, Sammy's coming down the hill again. Jesus Christ, let's, no.
There are a few people like that, yeah.
I'd be one of them. So, but no. So it's, I mean, I would love them to consistently send me instruments for me to show off or just see how they sound. But it's, I think they're also a master of making, as we know with the Iris, cheaper instruments that somehow sound absolutely incredible. And it annoys me that when I started, like that kind of thing wasn't available, because otherwise I would have stayed with my ukulele for a very long time.
What I like about Flight, just kissing their ass gratuitously here, is I feed back to them that something needs to be made, and then it exists. They actually, they've just done a run of left-handed Pathfinders, which people have been asking for 8-9 years. I said, please make this. They did. It wasn't easy for them. I know that they had problems kind of making it happen, but they did. The Iris it's like an affordable version of the Nighthawk, which in itself is an affordable version of the Fireball, which in itself is an affordable version of the A10, which in itself is an affordable version of an Owlcraft ukulele at £3,000 plus. So Flight just know what they're doing. And people that don't like Flight genuinely haven't tried one, or generally they don't want nice things, I think. I'm going to wrap it up here now. When's your album going to be ready, Sammy? Because we've got 1 minute and a half before I get cut off the Zoom call.
Oh my God. I'm hoping that March, April.
That's not too long at all. And in the meantime, if people want to know more about you, where can they go? What can they do?
Instagram is very easy at 4STRINGBOY, or YouTube. I'm also at 4STRINGBOY. But pretty much all my teaching, covers, tabs, workshops, everything like that is all available on Patreon. So if you want to go to Patreon and put in 4STRINGBOY, everything is there pre-recorded as massive banks. So that's the content to hit.
Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to edit this down and get rid of all the references to threesomes, air fryers, and mood lighting.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thanks so much, mate. Take care.
Take it easy.